Hello, welcome, and this video is going to be about can you really make a um, contract? And when I say a contract, I'm not talking about a momentary contract like an instant contract like a transaction. I'm not talking about transactions here. I'm not talking about buying and selling something and you give me this and I give you the money for it, and that sense of a contract, which is what I would call I don't want to say instant contract or instant fulfillment of a contract. I don't know. It technically is a contract, but that's not really what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the kind of contract where you say to a guy, I'm going to sell you this for this price for this long, and the other guy says, yes, I want to buy it for this price for this long, and that's the contract. Can you really do something like that? Or say you'll do this service for somebody for so long for so much money. Can you really do something like that? And I'm going to start the video with, I'm going to tell you the answer, which might get some people interested in watching the rest of this. And the answer is no. You cannot make a contract like that. And in fact, even it's very difficult to even really come up with, you can do it in the fictitious sense, yes. Okay, and that is why, people, we have the legal system that man has invented. It is so that you can make a contract for longer than just the here and now. Okay, because as a man, if we observe nature's laws, you can't do it. Okay, and now do you want to hear the theory behind why you can't do this? Okay, look at me, right? I wasn't always this ugly and this old, right? Once upon a time, I was a cute little baby. Okay, now why do we have aging in nature? Okay, and I'm going to tell you why, or at least one of the reasons why. What it does, and it's just one of the reasons, okay, so let's not get all too crazy about this, but one of the reasons why we have aging is to actually give us a physical representation of the change that we go through during life, okay? If you think you're the same person that you were, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 years ago, then there probably might be something wrong with you. Okay? I know I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. I've harped on about this in other videos. I'm not the same person. Okay? Let's use the analogy of something like wine. Okay? I'm thinking of this analogy right now. Red wine, okay? Okay, so you have a bottle of red wine. Okay? It looks pretty like the same. You put it in the cellar for 10 years, it looks like the same bottle of red wine, okay? Except there's a lot more dust on it. It's kind of grey and dusty as it gets older, okay? But physically, it's roughly the same bottle of wine, okay? You pop the cork, but the wine tastes different, okay? It's aged. It's changed. It looks like the same wine. It's still red. It's the same colour as it went in, when it went into the bottle, it was red, and when it comes out of the bottle, it's pretty much the same colour as well. Okay? The bottle itself has changed a little bit. It's got, kind of dirty and got a few cobwebs on it. But the wine tastes a little bit different, okay? This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, right? We age, we change, okay? We're not the same people we were even a moment ago. We are actually changing second to second, moment to moment, right? So can you make a contract with somebody with a reasonable expectation that you can fulfill that contract over a certain period of time? The answer is no, because the problem is, when you made that contract, you were a different person. You were a different man to the man you were than the man you are now. Okay? It's just as simple as that. There can be no expectation that you'll have the same feelings on the contract in the future. Because you're different. You're physically different. You physically are different from what you were. So if you made a contract 5 years ago, you're physically different now. You're not the same person that made that contract. That contract does not apply to you as a living flesh man. How do they get around that? Why do we have the legal system? Because the legal system deals with fictional entities, which are dead. They do not live, okay? If they do not live, then technically they do not change, okay? Even though we do see some changes in them, but technically they should not change at all, okay? They're dead entities, okay? They're dead. This is why a corporation is called a corporation. Corpus, okay? Corpse, okay? Corporation, okay? This is where the word comes from. It's a dead entity, okay? They do not change, so they can make a contract and fulfill the contract in the future because they're the same thing. Okay? We know they physically can't be living also, and this is the reason why they physically can't be living. In order for something to be living, there has to be an inseparable bond between the consciousness or the spirit or the soul and the body of the physical body of the entity, okay? Which, number one, you're hard pushed to say it even has a physical body, okay? I mean, a piece of paper, a driving license, a piece of plastic, it's a pretty hard sell to say that's a physical body. That's number one. Number two, the consciousness that it has is on loan is on loan to the physical being, okay? Neither of those two are inseparable, okay? And yeah, it just isn't living, okay? I don't know how to explain it any easier than that. What was I even talking about at the start of this video, you know? I've just got off complete on a tangent, waffling. So, that's the basic facts of the matter are that making a contract is pretty much impossible as a man. You really can't really do it. I mean, the only way you could possibly do it is to have a moment-to-moment contract. I mean, it'd have to literally be moment-to-moment. And at that stage, you just can't have any expectations because the contract could change at any time, you know. I mean, another thing that nature and God likes to throw in there is this idea of death. I mean, how can you have any kind of physical expectation of somebody doing something when they could just croak it at any minute? It's absolutely ridiculous to think that I can bind a man and his word's good enough and he's bound to that for you know, for as long as the contract is, when he could just die at any minute. I mean, if you're in business with somebody that could die, you have to have some kind of what's the word I'm looking for? You have to have some kind of contingency plan if he croaks it, you know. I mean, if somebody's supplying you with parts for something and he croaks it, you've got to be able to get them parts from somewhere. You can't go and say, well, you didn't get me my parts, I'm suing you for my lost money that I would have made if I had my parts coming in. You know, you just can't do it. You have to have that contingency in place. The same thing, you know, with a living man that can change his mind at any minute. The reason why he can change his mind is because it's not even the same man that made the bloody contract in the first place. Okay? This is why we have to have a legal system in order to create contracts. Okay? I can't explain it any more than that. That's the end of the film. This could be the first one that's almost under 10 minutes. I'm just hitting the 10-minute mark now. One other thing I wanted to touch on, which I think I tried to touch on another film, but I didn't really film another video, but I didn't get around. I think I just lost track of what I was talking about, which I do a lot of the time. This probably will take a couple more minutes, but you can't actually sell your soul to the devil. You can't do it. Even if you really did meet the devil, even if he really existed, right? And you really did sign a piece of paper selling, yeah, I'll sell my soul and my body or my physical being to you, whatever. You can't do it. Why can't you do it? Because number one, the body and the soul can't be separated. It would be dead, right? Number two, both of those things are changing, okay? God shows us this with the aging, you know. And you know that your spirit is not the same thing as it was when you were a little kid. You know you've developed differently. So we know this is an inherent knowing, okay? So if you were to sign something to say, I sold my soul, you know, it only lasts for that moment in time. You can't do it. You just can't do it. Number one, do you even know that your soul belongs to yourself? No. Do you know that the body belongs to yourself? No. Neither of those two things are really your possession, which it's a bit hard to fathom, but you really don't know that you have complete possession of those things. Number one, you can't really give them up. And number two, those things are constantly changing. Okay. Number three, they're inseparable. Okay. Number two, number three, number B, C, D. Also, you know, you just can't do it. You're changing all the time. You just cannot sign something away that's in a constant in a state of change. You just can't do it. So, because it is quite difficult to fathom whether or not, you see, the problem is the spirit is the body and the body is the spirit while the being is alive. You see, those two things are inseparable. Okay, and so to say that only the body is aging, when you see the body aging, great, you know, but to say it's only the body that's aging when when those two things are combined and inseparable, you can't really say that. You know, if you see where I'm coming from here, you know, to be alive, the two things have to be combined. Okay, and if you then see the body aging, those two things that are combined, you know, there has to be some element of change within the spirit as well, within the soul. And I think if you really think about it, you think, well, is it the same soul that's controlling the body? Is it always been the same soul? There might be some underlying attributes that remain the same, but is it 100% the same soul? I don't think so. I don't think so. Also, it also begs the question of whether the soul is, of course, the soul is also shaped by the filter of reality, which is your body, your genetics, and all this kind of things as well. So, I mean, I guess the way we could look at that is if you look at identical twins, okay, the soul is not the same, okay? Or is it the same? Let's not even go down that road, because is it the same? Because you can't guarantee that the identical twins are exposed to exactly the same environmental factors. So forget that I even said that, because I'm waffling on, going down the wrong road there. But anyway, under 15 minutes, that's great. Let's call it quits for this video. Contracts. Can you make a contract that's longer than the here and now? No, you can't, and you can't even really make it as a fictitious entity. Because for a fictitious entity, no, I'm over 15 minutes. For a fictitious entity to react to that contract, it needs some kind of soul put into it, right? And the soul and the body are inseparable, and so you're still dealing with something that's changing. You know, it's a bit of an illusion, really, because even the little bit of lent consciousness that is lent to the fictitious entity that doesn't exist that made the contract, even that is subject to change because it's inseparable from a real body, and the real body is undergoing real change, we can see. So they've really kind of tried to squeeze one on by with the whole idea of contracts when they know full well that even in the states of fictitious realms, contracts really aren't truly binding. Bummer for them. But you know, it's important to know these sort of things because there's a lot of people out there. In fact, I haven't come across anybody on the internet that's even talking about this kind of stuff. So if you're watching this and you run one of these channels, one of these legal channels, please think about this and spread the word. You know, because I haven't come across it. I'm sure there's people out there that know this stuff, but they ain't talking. Anyway, thanks for watching. Cheers. Bye.